This election season, the North Pacific's Ministry of Radio is sponsoring a series of voice tech and text-based town halls for each candidate. We hope this event is informative, and we encourage you to participate by posting questions in the chat. And now, let's get started. Hello, Bobberino.
Hi, Vivanco.
Welcome to the show. Could you give us a brief history of positions that you've held within the regional government?
Oh, baby, I don't really know where to start. Well, I arrived here on the shores of the North upon founding in March of 2018, making that about 3 years ago. Then I applied for the NPA around around 2 weeks afterwards. And have kind of been known as the NPA guy in modern history, ever really since. And the way I got to that status is just by being there constantly and being as active as almost humanly possible, fitting things around my schedule, updating during lunch periods, things like that. I live in the Eastern time zone, which allows me to have the minor update at 12 o'clock, and that's convenient for the aforementioned lunch periods. Back then, update was 45 minutes, which was about the length of one period, making things pretty convenient. And major update is at 12 p.m., or 12 a.m. rather. So back when update was an hour long, you just update for an hour and then you go to bed. The Eastern time zone is not inhospitable to update. But on a different note about specifically positions, the first major position I got was Deputy Minister of Home Affairs in, I believe, July or August of 2018 under Minister BMW Surfer. Since then, I've been an on and off minister, or Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, Communications, WA Affairs, and now I am Deputy Minister of Radio. And Home Affairs and Communications were kind of my tight two ministries, up there with Defense in terms of my executive service. So it's very fitting that after my 2 terms as Minister of Defense, starting in March 2019, after Darkania's resignation, and May 2019, that I become Minister of Communications in April of 2020 under McMaster, finishing up the term. In terms of the Speaker's office, I have been on and off in service of the Speaker's office since I was added to the Speaker's staff under then Speaker of the Regional Assembly, ABC, in June of 2018. I learned some of the basics of how to do some things like the now defunct WA Digest, or RA Digest rather. And then the ensuing term under Speaker Wondrous, I learned how to do citizen checks and basically have been a stabilizing presence in the Speaker's office ever since, especially under the brief term of Speaker Yukira.
Could you please explain to us what do you mean by a stabilizing force within the Speaker office?
I claim to be a stabilizing force in the speaker's office because I believe that, especially recently, I have been a mentor to some of the new members to the speaker's office and allow them to have a smooth transition while learning the basics. For example, when Majak joined the office, I believe in February or March of 2020, during Doropia's term as speaker, before he ceased to exist, I helped him transition into the office and become a leadership role very quickly. And he even stated in his May 2020 post that he would not be, or he may not be, the Speaker of the Regional Assembly without my presence in the Speaker's office.
Okay, so you are currently running for the office for Speaker. Could you please tell us why did you decide to run for the office of Speaker? Could you please tell us why?
After having served as Deputy Speaker for a million years and Speaker's staff before a million years passed, I have gained a tremendous understanding and love for what the Speaker's office does, and I believe I have a unique finger on the pulse of the health of the Regional Assembly and the office of this and duties of the Speaker as a whole. I believe that I have a vision for the Regional Assembly and for TNP that can allow us to become a more successful region in nation states going forward.
That leads me to your current motto for your candidacy, which is, if I am correct, continuity within change, correct?
Continuity with change. That sounds correct.
What do you mean? What do you mean by continuity with change?
If you check my if you check my if you check my thread, I have answered this question, but I will answer it on this show for the sake of transparency. I said that this means a lot to me because I intend to both move forward with the office, but also look to the past with the office and see where we can learn from the past and learn from the mistakes and look to our strong points and incorporate those into a plan for change in the office. Because I intend to continue the office down the path that it is on, because let's be frank, I believe Majak has been a terrific Speaker of the Regional Assembly despite the feud with Wondrous. And the path that it is on is a path of change. And this is a road that the office has been on for a long time. And I believe that I can oversee this office, that that allows for it to change, but I believe that I can maintain its continuity, its health, its stability, and its growth that it has undergone in the past 8 months under Majak's speakership.
Both candidates, both you and Robespierre, you both praise Majak, the prior speaker, for what he has done for the speaker's office. And as such, what do you think was the most important thing he did, and what will you continue to do?
Probably the most important thing that Majak did in the office was ensure that things were done systematically and that all tasks within the office were distributed out in a clear manner, and that everything was done under the public eye. There need not be secrecy in the office that basically runs the region.
What methods will you employ to see that citizens' checks are done in a timely manner?
I will seek to I will seek to I will seek to actually do a bunch of citizen checks myself, at least twice daily, at a minimum once daily, to ensure that they're done within 24 hours. And I sincerely intend to commit to that. I also would like to appoint I would also like to appoint several deputy speakers who are given the right to do the checks themselves, and in fact be on a similar schedule to that of Magix. Now I intend to modify that schedule, and we can get into that. We can get into how I plan to modify that schedule later. However, I would like to sum it up, committing to doing checks myself, as well as employing deputy speakers to assist me in that facet.
Talking about the office of deputy speakers, do you have any plans to do any changes at all to the role of the deputy speaker?
I believe the role of the deputy speaker is terrific as is, because the deputy speaker, for all intents and purposes, is like a speaker in training. A deputy speaker that has been a deputy speaker for a few months is someone who realistically I should be able to trust to step into the role should I need to take a leave of absence for whatever reason. I believe the role of the deputy speaker is not just to serve the region, but also to learn about the region themselves in the hopes that they can become future speakers, vice delegates, whatever the case might be.
There's lots of talks lately within the whole regional assembly and the North Pacific at large about mostly declassification and transparency. Most importantly, there has been a lot of talks about more transparency within the Security Council, and I would like to ask what changes, if any, would you do in order to increase transparency to the Speaker's office?
I believe that the Speaker's office, in the way that it is currently operating, is the most transparent office. It is the most transparent Speaker's office in the history of the North Pacific, because just about everything is done publicly. Removals from the sheet are done publicly. Additions to the sheet are done publicly. Checks, publicly. Failures, publicly. Everything is done on a public basis. Hell, even appointments are done on a parliamentary confirmation basis, so that the entire regional assembly can provide a yes or no stamp on them. Even if it turns into a rubber stamp, in practice, the way that it is structured currently allows for the regional assembly to still hold that check on the delegate that they are codified in law to be.
Talking about the parliamentary style of the regional assembly, why do you enjoy the parliamentary style of the RA, and how does that improve the Speaker's office?
Excellent question. I believe the parliamentary style of the regional assembly allows for the regional assembly to continue to hold that check on the delegates' power. The delegates' power should not be infinite, but the RA's actions should be deliberate and thorough. A parliamentary style in the regional assembly, from the way I see it, allows for that simultaneous positioning, if that's a good word for it.
Both Robespierre and you have been a deputy speaker and the Mad Jack. Is that correct?
Yes.
What are the differences between your styles that distinguish you from Robespierre?
I believe that the differences between me and Robes are a matter of mentality. An excellent question, by the way. And I figured someone was going to ask this sooner or later. I have clearly spent a lot of time thinking about this, as it probably will win or lose me the election. Robes and I take different approaches to nation states. Our personalities and our psyches are inherently different. And without going into too much depth, as I'm trying not to be creepy, he is, in my opinion, a little bit overly serious and a little bit too deliberate. Whereas I like to take a more aggressive, lighthearted approach to the game while still having a serious switch when necessary. And I believe that my career in TNP shows that I am more than capable of stepping up to the plate when necessary and delivering both on actual work and on actual foundational principles. The way that this applies to the speaker's office is my creativity, because I believe that I can take something that is purely logical and analytical, like the regional assembly, and make it into a project that can show itself to be more than what the surface claims for it to be.
Being in the situation of the current events that have happened within the speaker office, it is necessary to talk about the current case that is going on within the court of the North Pacific that has the prior speaker Matt Jack in the crossroads. I would like to ask of you your opinion on the subject at hand.
Okay, I figured someone was going to ask this at some point, and I'm kind of in the middle on this. While I believe it was wrong for the speaker to do what he did, I do believe, however, that the speaker acted within the constraints of the law on paper. Though it is absolutely, in my opinion, the wrong course of action.
How would you have acted in that situation?
I would have given Wanderous citizenship on the same time frame as I would someone else. Unfortunately, Wondrous holds some controversial opinions that that Magic disagrees with, and I can sympathize with his I can sympathize with his plight. And it puts him in an awkward position to have a citizen you so starkly disagree with be admitted to the region, so much so that you would potentially commit a potential crime to keep Wondrous out of the region, because you believe that Wondrous is such a toxic presence within the region. With that said, I believe that denying Wondrous citizenship for 14 days was the wrong course of action. And I'm trying not to dance circles around this. And the right course of action would be to just do your duty as a government official in an unbiased manner. Though I surely can sympathize with the speaker.
Very well. Does anyone within the audience have any question for for Bobberino?
For the candidate?
For the candidate, yes, sorry.
Go ahead, Robes.
Go ahead to post it in the chat, please. In the meantime, could you please tell us what is your strongest point for the position?
I believe my strongest point for the position is a flexible approach in how I approach the game. My consistent and top tier activity in recent times and in old times, and the character that I have built within the office, allowing for the citizens to trust me not only as the current acting speaker should something happen to Magic before the election, and as well as acting speaker. I believe no, Deropia didn't. Scratch that. As well as deputy speaker under several different other speakers.
We have one question. We have one question coming from the candidate Robespierre, which says, what are the top 4 qualities that you'd want deputy speakers serving under you to have?
Good question. I think they would be activity, reliability, open communication with the rest of the team and myself, and competence. In no particular order.
The second question coming from the other candidate is, what is the minimum amount of time that you'd like to see between a second motion for a vote and the actual vote itself beginning?
The minimum amount of time I'd like to see in that time frame would probably be around 6 hours. Because if nobody has it, this is a subjective thing, but if nobody has objected to anything with the thread and it seems like something that the RA will simply rubber stamp, I see no reason to delay. I see no reason to cause any delays, and intend to act with the RA's collective will to pass the motion quickly.
All right. The next question is, should the Speaker's office be looking to expand in size? For example, increasing the number of deputies as the Magic has, or decrease its size?
I believe the Speaker's office doesn't really need to go in a significant way either direction. The Speaker's office certainly can increase in size should I receive many applications to be Deputy Speaker. Or it can decrease in size should nobody apply. It's all a matter of who applies to the office, because I intend to pull onto the staff, both new and old, that would like to serve the Speaker's office.
What's the best way that a new speaker can cement themselves in the way that past speakers such as Madzak and Artemis have? If elected, how would you look to do this?
The best way that a new speaker can cement themselves is probably through a strong opening address. And it seems like a very simplistic thing because everybody does it, but the strength of an opening address is what kind of shapes a term for the first 2 months, or rather 2 weeks to a month. And that time frame allows for the region to get used to this new figure being in the public eye, whether they're relatively new to the region, like Kretox, have been around for a decent bit, like myself, or are an old established and previously established figure in the region, such as Ghost or Magic.
Aside from Magic, what speaker have you enjoyed serving under during your time within the office?
Good question, because this kind of delves into my history a little bit. That would probably be it would probably be Doropia, because Doropia and I were pretty tight. We talked a lot about different out of character stuff, what happened to him that caused his first disappearance, and when he was around, he was pretty good at what he did. He's a good guy, and I enjoyed working with him because I felt like I was working with him as an equal.
The current vice delegate Stretton asks, if people disagree with your decision on something, would you take their opinion in consideration, or would you just consider it mindless bitching from the peanut gallery?
I appreciate the wording. If the answer seems pretty obvious. I try to take all opinions into consideration, but some opinions are kind of ridiculous. That's the way I see it. Like some from the way I see it, some opinions just fail to take the appropriate amount of some opinions just fail to take the appropriate amount of context into consideration. But I try my best to work with all people within the region, new and old, to try to get a full picture of who they want as their speaker and try to fit that role and mold it to my profile.
Is communication with RI participants important for you? What will the nature of those communications be if you are elected? Asks Robespierre.
Communication with RA participants is probably the biggest unofficial job of the speaker. It whether it's done on Discord or it's done on the forum, on specific threads, you name it, it needs to be done. It's just a matter of a medium and how it's done and the content. And the nature of those communications will be hopefully as open and honest as possible. I try to be, as you may know, for some of you that have been around for a little bit, that I am very open on the Discord and very active on the Discord. And that allows for me to communicate both with RA members and applying citizens. And it allows me to, when elected, it will allow me to have a bigger picture of what the RA members want, both from me and from their RA, and I will try to adapt accordingly.
What tasks have you enjoyed performing most during your time as Deputy Speaker? Conversely, what would you say is your least favorite part of task to perform?
Well, counting up votes on exemption threads is absolutely not something I am looking forward to doing if elected speaker. But doing citizenship checks is kind of exciting because it feels like I'm giving someone the keys to a future potential career of success in the North Pacific.
This will be the last set of questions before we close this town hall. You mentioned a commitment to getting text done within certain timeframes. As you've said, 24 hours. Do you worry that you'll be able to sustain that with regards to longevity over the course of a 4-month term? And if not, what makes you so confident that you can promise this to the voters?
I believe I can promise this to voters because I have provided similar levels of activity in the past. I've done this before as Minister of Defense, where I can reliably ask my deputies to look over some things if I am away, and be there to do the checks myself whenever that is not the case. For example, I was in Europe for 12 days during my second Minister of Defense term. And during those days where I only checked Discord probably a total of 3 times, the term was run very smoothly. My deputies picked up the slack because they knew exactly what to expect from me and exactly what to do. And I believe if I can provide that same level of guidance to deputy speakers, that if I have to go for another, say, 10 days, that the office will not burn down in the meantime.
Well, and to finish up this town hall, I will grant you 16 seconds so you can refer to the audience, and if you want to say anything to the to the electors, now it is your time. The 60 seconds start now.
I'm not really sure where to begin, but obviously I would prefer it if you voted for me. But I would also like to say that Robespierre is a wonderful candidate, a great guy. I've worked with him in the past. We share similar mindsets. And I can say that regardless of who you elect, whether that be myself or Robespierre, that we will run a smooth speaker's office, and that the office will be a successful and have a bright future that you can look forward to, whether that be from myself or from Robespierre. Well, though I'd prefer it be from myself. Um, and with that,
That,
I will cede the rest of my time.
that were the 60 seconds. Thank you very much to the audience for being with us for this town hall. Thank you very much, Bobberino, for accepting to come with us and granting us some of your time for this interview. Have good luck within the election, and thank you very much.
Awesome.
This has been the town hall for Bobberino running for speaker. I am Vivanco. This is for the Ministry of Radio of the North Pacific. Thank you very much.